Hey guys, welcome. It's been a while, right? Cool, that's enough noodling. Thanks for dropping in on this YouTube live. So today I just want to run through this live rig that I've got here. So the whole thing is like I've been using pedals and amps for the longest time, but I was very keen. This time when I went back to India, I found this Synergy rack that I had, and I thought it'd be a good idea to bring it back here and build a proper rig. The last time I used it at a live gig was the Zero Independence Rock gig. I used that into two Mesa boogies, and so I thought you could actually do something cool with it. Now the thing is, in New Zealand we don't really have a rental amp situation on most gigs. You kind of have to bring your own. So I was at this friend's house a house. He has this actually big warehouse, and he had this old Line 6 HD valve, which is basically a modeling front end and a valve power section. And he kind of stripped the whole digital things out, and he's just using the tube power section on that. And that synergy thing sounded really good through that. So I was like, this gives me an idea. So I was on the lookout for this Line 6 Spider valve. It's in, I think, late or mid 2000s is when it came out. And the thing is, the front end preamp thing is digital. It's all modeling, but it's got a tube power section that is built, rather designed by Reinhold Bogner, who's one of those amp gurus in the States. And so I was like, hang on, if you just plug into the effects return at the back, you're kind of just using the tube power section and the speaker. And it comes with a Celestion Vintage 30. So right now, instead of miking the cabinet, I've just taken the speaker out and running it into the Sir reactive load, so I can actually turn up the power section and get it to, do its thing. You don't really want to be listening to it at very low volumes. It's kind of not really going to add much. But once you get it opened up, so I've got the master on the amp around noon, and the Synergy output is around 11 o'clock. So it's kind of just balanced out. So this normally through the speaker would be quite deafeningly loud. But coming to the rack, so I've got two modules. So, you can pull in and swap out different modules that they make. I think they make around 16 or so. And there's some more on the way. Now, when I was using a Helix, most of the time I would have a Dumble model on for my clean and slightly, broken up tones, and the Soldano for my rhythm and my solo distortion. So that's what I went with. You can, do other stuff as well. They've got a whole bunch of different things, Friedman and Diesel and VHD, Fryette and, so on. But I thought, let's just, work with these two and see what's the most you can get out of them. So that's kind of what we've got here. Tube power section a tube preamp running into a tube power section from the Line 6. I hope that much is clear to anyone watching. So let's start with some sounds. This is the clean. So the Dumble, the OS, what you call overdrive special or whatever, that's got two sounds in it. So each module, you can see that's the blue one, now it's gone to the red. If you just look at the preamp from the top right, that's your blue mode on the Dumble, that's your red on the Dumble, that's the blue on the Soldano and red on the Soldano. So it's kind of, increasing amounts of gain. So the very cleanest sound is this. So it's a very nice clean sound, especially on the single coils. I picked this guitar so I can easily go between single coils and humbuckers. And it's quite touch sensitive, so if I hit hard, it gets a little bit of that breakup on. Now if I roll the tone back on the guitar, I can darken the clean sound, make it a bit thicker. All the way up to like, say something like here. Something like that. It's a bit extreme, so a little bit more. And if I want that full spanky bright clean as well. So I've set it pretty open on the module. You want to hear it without the mic? Okay, let me just mute the mic and I'll just play a bit. Yeah, the mic does pick up a bit of that pick scrape. One sec. So you can kind of hear when I go to the humbucker, it'll crunch up a bit. And that's with the tone on the humbucker rolled off a bit. If I just put that on full. Right, so let's move on now to the drive channel on the OS. And I've set it very low gain. You can get it, to distort a bit more, but for that I've got the Soldano. So this is kind of my and that's the sound I was using on the intro jam. I'll just play a little bit more so you can hear it in context. That sort of thing. So it's very responsive to your pick attack. If you can get it to bark a little bit if you dig in, and when you lighten up your touch, it's pretty much clean. So that. That sort of thing. So really, good for those, slightly broken up sounds where you're not really sure if it's clean or if it's dirty. And if you roll your guitar volume back, you can get it to clean up nicely. Okay, so that sort of thing. Now let's go to the Soldano. So that's the rhythm channel of the Soldano. They're kind of identical, two different channels. They share the same EQ, but they've got different volume and gain. So what I've done is, if you can see here, that's the gain of the Soldano first channel, just dial back a bit. So you can, dig in a bit. You can just chunk those lower strings. And on the neck pickup, so it'll clean up a bit if you dig in. I mean, if you don't dig in, if you play lightly. And finally, the lead channel is. Hey Martin, thanks for dropping in. Cool, I see we've got a few questions here, so let me see if I can, because I'm just looking at all these comments. Nice t-shirt, thank you. I stopped in at some shop in Bangalore and I picked up a few. The slapback slaps, yeah, that's the Line 6 Echo Pro in the rack. So right now I'm not doing the effects on the rack mount lexicon. You can see here in this rack, I've got a different studio rack. So I was running some stereo reverb from the PCM70 and the slapback from the Line 6 Echo Pro, because those are in stereo. And sorry, the MPX1 in the rack is in mono right now. It's just in the loop of the Synergy. So I can show you those effects in a little while. Where's the Rick and Morty t-shirt? It's probably in the dryer right now. Can I play the loner? Yeah, sure. I'll do that in a little while. I'll do a little bit of that for you. Sweet playing. Thank you, Sudhir. Always a pleasure to hear you play, says Guitar Doc. Thank you. Greg likes when the mic's muted. Give me a little bit of legato tips, says Siddharth. Well, you have to kind of get both the hands to only put as much pressure as they need. So if you're like either picking too hard, you have to kind of, the easiest thing to do is something like where you just go. So you're picking only once per string, but then the fingers do the other notes. So that's your E string, then A. Okay, once you've got that, then just go the other way around. As you can see, that bit of mine needs a bit of practice. And then you have to have the right amount of gain as well, because if you have too little, those notes are just going to sound too staccato. They won't like blend into each other. If you have the right amount of gain and maybe a little bit of delay to smoothen it out, something like that. Do it slowly and then slowly, gradually rather speed it up. Is it possible to plug an electric guitar into a PC without an audio interface? Yes, it is, but I wouldn't recommend it. You need to have some kind of a buffer in between. So the guitar pickups are what you would call high impedance, and then the input of that whatever audio on your computer is a low impedance thing. So the simplest thing to do would just be to like take a Boss pedal and put it into bypass and plug your guitar into the Boss pedal, because the Boss pedals are buffered. So even when they're bypassed, the buffer is active. So that will kind of do it. And then you can, put some amp sim software thingy, whatever you feel like doing. Another cheap option is this thing that Apogee makes called the Jam. It's a small little thing. I have one here. And it's just a USB thing for your guitar to plug into. And then you monitor through your normal, sound card or interface. Sound card is an archaic term for when the devices were actually cards that would slot in. So that is what I would recommend. Tejas says he was listening to North Star. I'll play you a little bit of that. It sounds nice with this clean here. You actually need a modulated delay for that. So I think I have one here. Yeah, so modulated delay is basically a slight chorus on only the delay signal. So you get this very floaty sound. It's kind of just going down your A minor scale, right? Something like that. How do we choose a guitar string gauge for electric and acoustic guitar? I would think go with the heaviest gauge that you can play comfortably. So on electric guitar, I would say go with 10s, and on an acoustic guitar with 11s. Start there, and then you can go aage piche depending upon if your fingers are protesting, then go down a gauge. So if your 10s are feeling too stiff, then maybe try the 9s. Hey, Brad is in the house. He says, Dad and me in the studio and jumped in on the live. He says, deep respect. Hey, man, back at him. One of the OG legends. I told him if he's ever recording an album, I'll do the guitars for him, just for the goodness of my heart. So I hope he takes me up on that sometime. Can I turn on a drum loop and play? I'll do better than that. I'll play you some guy asked for some Gary Moore, so let me see if I can oblige. That intro of the Loner, I still have to fucking practice that. I played it at one time, I remember it, and every time I don't play it for a while, it goes out of the window. Where is Gary Moore? Here he is. And where is the Loner? Loner is here. something like that. Please, apologies to all the Gary Moore fans for butchering that. Okay, let's see what I missed. Can I play the red start? I'll do that in a while. If you go and reach it, and my headphone wire is not too long. Is there any process where you can compose, or what is the past process with your band member after you compose? It could depend. I've talked about it in the past. It could just be a chord progression that drives the whole song, or it could be a riff, or it could be a drum groove. And depending upon how ready the track is, then the band members will, either take a little bit and then add a lot, or they'll kind of fit themselves into an already existing framework. So there's no real one process. You just have to be open enough and have a little bit of experience to know what works. Because especially if you're in the studio, you don't really want to waste too much time. Can I please share some ideas on how to mix major and minor pentatonic over a blues progression? Okay, here's a cool thing that you could do. Like, say you take your A minor pentatonic. So the first thing you want to do is take all the minor thirds. So there's one. Here's another one. Here. So you take all those minor thirds and you bend them up a little bit, like a quarter tone. Or that sort of thing. So you're kind of getting an A mixolydian thing where you have your major thirds. Something like that. But you're not quite hitting that note, it's just a little bit. So say if you're playing the major pentatonic thing, which is 3 frets down, right? So you can start and then switch out to the minor when it goes to the D. Because if you look at the D, in your blues, you're playing all sevens, right? A7, D7, and E7. If you look at that D7, it's the 7th note in that for the D is a C, and that's your minor third on the A. So that when you go to the 4 chord, that's a good time to go to the minor. So you start. And then bring it back into the major for the A. And then when it goes to the D again, something like that. So let me see wherever I go. The red thing on the Soldano is nice. Yeah, it's set up just about enough gain to where it sings. And the blue one you can kind of dial it exactly the same, but I've just kept the gain back a little bit, just so you can get it to clean up a little bit. Is there any backing track for my songs? Not that I have put out, but an easy way to do that is just use those AI things like Moises or whatever. You feed them the track and they'll pull out the main guitar track, and then you can play karaoke over those for your heart's content. Can I give you some tips to write an instrumental track, like the steps to start this? There's no real hack to do it as such. What I would say is try and come up with some kind of a hook, something that permeates throughout the song that will grab your listener. So it could be a melody, it could be a drum groove, something of interest. So you put yourself into the listener's shoes and say, if I was listening to an instrumental track, what are the sort of things that would excite me? And use that to, you yourself will have a certain taste. You'd like to do things a certain way. So you could do that. So the song I was playing was The Loner by Gary Moore. Someone had requested it earlier in the comments. So I thought I would be nice and oblige. How does the Soldano module compare to the actual Soldano? Well, it will depend on what you're plugging it into, because it's very power amp dependent. So for example, if you took the actual Soldano power stage and put the module into it, it would sound very close. But it's got enough of that character, just like the way it reacts to your playing, that is very reminiscent of the Soldano. So there's no way this line 6, 40 watt power section is going to have the heft of the 90 or 100 watts that the big guy has. But if you just see how well it crunches. There's one sound the Soldano does that the module doesn't. That's on the crunch channel, and the crunch channel is more like a very nicely behaved plexi. So I wish they had done that. They had put the crunch channel on channel 1 and the lead channel on channel 2. But I guess, better to have this much at least. Maybe later on in the future, they would have a module which does both channels of the Soldano. So I do use that crunch channel quite a bit. In fact, I would say I'm probably 60% of the time on the crunch channel on the head and 40% of the time on the lead channel. So yeah, maybe in the future, if they put out a updated module or some sort of a mod or something, that'll be cool. These comments are like so small. I'm kind of having to squint a little bit. How do you know when the guitar needs refretting? It's basically when you have your set your neck pretty straight and then you're bending stuff, then certain frets you'll hear the strings choke, and you can see like dents and little, the frets are not even. That means like it may not need a refret, it may just need fret leveling, where the guy just sands all the frets and makes them smooth again. It depends if your frets have enough meat left on them to do that. If they do, then yeah, fret leveling is probably going to be cheaper than an entire refret. You're in a local train joining in from your mom's phone. Awesome. Say hi to everyone in the train. There are electric guitars with 2 fretboards. Some players have used them, and Dave Mustaine on the song Trust. What's their purpose? Well, either they'll be in a different tuning, or one would be a 12 string and one would be a 6 string, like how Jimmy Page did in Stairway to Heaven, or Don Felder in Hotel California. They used the double necks because both those songs there was a 12 string guitar and a 6 string guitar, so they had to switch between the two. And some guys like Bumblefoot, is a really amazing guitar player. He's got a fretless neck on one of them, so you can do these slidey sounding things on one and then like a normal fretted neck on the other. How would I chase Gilmore Stone with this rig? I wouldn't chase this Stone, man. I'm pretty much happy sounding like me. But like say even like on your the very clean channel, I think it's more how you play. I mean, you give Gilmore this guitar and let him play it with us, he'll sound like himself, so like put on a nice big reverb or something from the Eventide. Just give me a sec, let it boot and let it be on the right patch. No, it's not. It needs to be on number 6. Yeah, so something like that, I don't know. These days, I kind of just think it's more down to how you attack the guitar that, puts you. I mean, obviously, you can't play a lead tone with a clean sound, that sort of thing. But I'm just saying, if you're in the ballpark, then everything else is down to your hands. Any tips on boosting the signal from the guitar to the audio interface? Usually, the audio interface will have a gain setting for your high Z input. And then that's what you would do. Or just use something like an RC booster. That's a really good one to pop in front. Very easily available pedal. Exotic RC booster. This tone is so good. I agree. Thank you. Why do guitarists own thousands of guitars and ultimately play 2 or 3? Well, I kind of look at them as tools. Why does a carpenter have a hammer of a few different sizes and screwdrivers of different sizes? For me, the most used guitar would be the Strats, but then every once in a while I have something. So I've got a Les Paul and SG, a 335 with flat wounds for like that jazzy R&B kind of thing. There's a 12-string electric, 12-string acoustic, nylon string. There's a dobro. There's one Taylor in Nashville tuning, and there's another Taylor in normal tuning. So they all get used, it's not like I'm only using one. I say most of the time I'd use the Strats, but the other guitars do get used. If they don't get used, I sell them. I'm a bit of a minimalist, as you can see. Can we have some Eric Clapton, please? Sure, I'll give you some. what's the other one? Which used to do on the Soldano. Is that the Keeley Dual Echo Andy Timmons? No, it's not. I think I may get one. Let's see. All the clips do sound very nice. Can you play Cause We've Ended as Lovers? Yeah, it's been a while, Chalo. Let me see. Do I have a backing for that? I think I do. Give me a second. Let's see. 1, 2. should be enough to get the gist. Fuck, I played more than I should have. Never mind though. Um, Thanks for recommending Moises. That's cool, man. I'm glad that AI is working for you. Martin says gonna grab another telly. I don't know. And the funny thing is, every time I picked up the telly, I used to end up, going back to the Strat, especially the 3 single coil one. I don't know. Maybe if the right one shows up, I may consider it. Vishal and Shekhar's Ghungru song, my guitar intro parts. The funny thing is, I was kind of channeling an old Whitesnake song called "Still of the Light," which has got like this monstrous. But then it's got this part which kind of goes. Something like that. So I was kind of playing around with that. Something like that, and that's when the Gungu riff, one of those riffs, fell into place. What was the inspiration between Anuva Sky and what was the idea behind that melody? There's no real idea behind it. Sometimes a melody just pops out, and I just had this. It kind of came with the chords as well. So that's something I actually wrote when I was around 16 or something. It was before I actually got into Zero. And I just had that thing floating around. I never really completed it. And then when the first album was recorded around 2005 or 6, that's when I completed the song. So yeah, that's how I kind of finished the rest of the song, all that. That sort of thing. What's good to clean a maple fretboard and ebony fretboard? Lemon oil, you can kind of use it for ebony because it's not lacquered. But depending upon what the maple is lacquered with, if it's lacquered with like a nitro finish, then you kind of want to be careful. So then normally I think with all the nitro finish, Maple Next Fender has that bottle of spray that you can use to clean it. The main thing is anything to like anything that will get into the nitro and react with it, that's not something that you want to use. But if it's like a poly finish, then you can kind of, use most of the commercially available cleaners. It's just that you need to know if it's nitro, then you got to be doubly careful because nitro will react with, certain chemicals. You just nailed Cause You Ended as Lovers. Yeah, I really fucked it up. Sorry. To be honest, you could kind of use lemon oil. I don't really see it like to be reacting too hard with the maple, So what the best thing you can do is look at the back of the neck, just take whatever you're doing and just, rub a little bit and just see if that part doesn't get sticky. If it gets sticky, then it's kind of reacting with it. So that's what I would say. Just proceed with caution. Please can we hear some Bombay Rain? Oh, okay. Let me see. I'll play a little bit. Here we are. and so on and so forth. um, Please, I played that. Digital or analog pedals, what do you prefer and why? I prefer pedals that sound good. So if the digital pedals sound good, I like them. If the analog pedals sound good, I like them. If the analog pedals sound shit, I don't like them. And if the digital pedals sound shit, I don't like them. So it's a case by case basis. Don't be racist with pedals. Just get the pedal that does the job. That's what I would say. And sometimes you have to try a few before you find the ones that work. And the ones that, which is why I would always say buy used, and then when you sell it, you get your money back. Because there's too much of secondhand information floating around, including things that I would say that may or may not work for you. Your live sessions are entertaining and helpful. Thank you. I'm glad you get some use out of me blabbing about stuff. How about still got the blues solo? So Les Paul is too far away. Sorry. Can I play any of Shakti or Remember Shakti's pieces? No, I cannot. I only know some Mahavishnu orchestra stuff. Fuck, even that I forgot it. Um, there's a riff I'd kind of gotten from one of I forgot what show. I think it was probably Birds of Fire. He plays that mad weird pentatonic sounding thing. So I've got this like um that's the very definition of a soaring melody. Yeah, this thing does kind of let it. You don't have to dig in too hard. Any plans for making a new album? Yeah, there are always plans for making it, and then when it's ready, I put it out. Can I give you a little info on my pickups? These two are, they're all SIRS. These two are V60 LPs, which are one of two single coils I use. The other used to be called the ML, and now it's called, I think, the V63, if I'm not mistaken. But on a guitar with 10s, the V60 LPs sound a little fatter. And the guitars with 11s, the MLs or the V63s have got a little more twang. So they balance each other out. And then the humbucker is a Thornbucker Plus 53mm, which fits in a Strat. According to Pete Thorn, he said the regular Thornbucker was designed more for a Gibson guitar, and the Thornbucker Plus for a Strat or a Fender. So that's what I have here. I do have an interesting wiring system. Normally, signal coils like to see a 250K volume port, and the humbuckers like to see a 500K. So I do have a 500K in here, and then when the single coils are selected, there's another 470K resistor which comes in parallel with the volume port, and it drops it to 250 for the single coils. So if you want to see that in detail, there's a video called HSS Strat on my YouTube channel, so you could have a look at that. That would be helpful if you want to know more about that sort of thing. The bridge humbucker is just something I can go to a humbucker sound very easily, and especially in a live situation where you can only carry one guitar, then it. Thoughts on A.R. Rahman? I definitely like some of the stuff he's done. Not everything, but there's some really cool shit in there, because I did, I think, 2 tours. There was one of Canada and there was one of Australia, New Zealand, and I had to chart most of the songs. So I actually learned quite a bit charting, just the way he uses chords and a melody. And there's a lot of things he does which just go over my head. I don't even really understand half the genius things that he does. But there's definitely some cool bits in there which I took away from. And you can find that with any music. There'll be something in it which you can learn from. And in the case of Mr. Rahman, there was a ton of good stuff for me to learn. What genre has inspired me the most? I'd probably say the blues-based rock of the 60s and 70s. Probably everything from like 66 to 76. I think that's like my favorite musical period. And even like B.B. King and Albert King and stuff are putting out some cool albums during that time. So tips on ear training. This is something I was just thinking about today. So here's an interesting one. So let's take your E string as your drone string. and you play, what you can do first is just start with the E major scale. So you need to know this is an octave or the same note. This is a second, major third, fourth, fifth, sixth, major seventh, octave again. And then you do your minor scale. So then once you kind of calibrate your ears, then you just close your eyes, play that E string, and then play a random string on the guitar. So I'm gonna do that. So that sounds like a seventh to me. So that should be a D note. And it is. So that's a minor third, so that's gonna be a G. Okay. Try this string. That's an A, so that's a fourth. That's a minor second, so that's going to be an F. Yep. So that's an A again. That's a flat 5. Okay, so let's try. So as you go further, it gets harder. That's a major seventh. Yeah. That's a minor 6. Octave F, so that's minor second, seventh. And so, that's kind of how you do it. Just start training your ears with what those intervals sound like. And they all have a very certain sound to them. So there's probably 12 intervals that you'd have to train your ear to recognize. Like, and then just randomize that out a bit and, do that. What I've answered that. Thanks for answering. Were you ever a metalhead? Yeah, there's definitely a lot of metal that I like. Starting from like that, classic 80s metal, like Iron Maiden and, the early Metallica. A lot of Megadeth. I used to love Megadeth. I still do, actually. Pantera was cool. I haven't really, explored those niche genres of metal. Black Sabbath, I don't know if I guess you can kind of call them like proto metal or something. They just sound like, like some stoner rock to me. I love that shit. Tool, I hadn't really get into Tool. Backstage story, how was my experience playing with Bryden? He's one of the most phenomenal guitar players you've come across. Yeah, man, Bryden is awesome. He's been a long time friend and supporter of Black Star Blues. So it was lovely to have him sit in, because I always thought it'd be a good idea to have him join us. And then when we did this gig in Bangalore, he just happened to be in town. Normally, he's one of the busiest guys I know, because he's gigging such a lot. And it was nice that he was in town. I knew, like, from playing with him. We had done this series of gigs with Vishal Datlani called Nusrat. So sorry, it was called Ustad, which was Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, like doing all his stuff with different singers. Bryden was one of the guitar players along with me. So he was playing acoustic and I was playing electric. And I knew he was like a phenomenal electric guitar player, but he also has a lovely touch on acoustic. So when we play Ode to a Sunny Day, it kind of needs that acoustic guitar most of the time, and I kind of get away without it. But just to have him there and play that was really cool. So it was, and with no practice, we just did a little thing in the hotel room where we kind of just went over, you play that, I'll play this sort of thing, and he just fell into place. So yeah, that was awesome having them. Do I sing? I used to when I was a kid. I used to sing quite a bit, and then my voice cracked, and I never really. Now the only thing I kind of is that so that people shiver in the that's all I can sing now. The song PSP 12/0, is it played in standard tuning? It depends which version you're listening to. I think there's one in standard and one in E flat. And if you were at Independence Rock, you're tuned down to D for that gig. How to play solo according to song? That's like saying, how do I behave with my girlfriend? It's a very vague question. First, you need to get to know the song. Then you need to see how much space the song has for your solo. First, see if the song actually needs a solo, because sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you may just need to play the melody. There's a lot of Beatles songs where the guitar solo is just the melody, and that's enough. That's all it needed. So don't play more than you have to. Don't play less than you have to. Know the chord progressions inside out. You need to be on top of those. Even if it's like some single, just know where the chords change. Don't just keep noodling on one scale and cross your fingers and hope for the best. Know the chord changes inside out, and also know the rhythm or the groove really well. You need to feel that inside when you're soloing. Because if you're thinking too much, that's not going to be the best. You have to be comfortable with both the harmony and the rhythm to the point where you're not really thinking. So is Amit Datta very angry? No, he's one of the sweetest guys I know. I don't know why anyone get the impression that he maybe some guy didn't learn his scales or something. Then I guess he'd bring the stick down on them. But he's one of the sweetest gentlemen I know. And man, what a player! That guy is probably on par with any jazz or fusion guitar player I've seen. The first time I saw him, this was cool. I just walked in. I knew that from reputation he was a great guitar player, but I'd never seen him live. And it was this gig in Mumbai, and his band, what do they call it at the time? Skinny Alley. Yeah, they were playing before us. So I'd walked in, and they were playing Green Earrings by Steely Dan, and that was the first time I seen someone just stretch out on a Steely Dan song instead of copying everything exactly. He was just taking it to a different place. I was like, man, this guy is like pretty damn awesome. And every time I've heard him play, it's always been very inspiring. So maybe if you do your homework, he won't be angry. Thoughts on post rock? Any favorites? I haven't really been very familiar with the genre, but I don't know. Is Sigur Rós post rock? I don't know. I love Sigur Rós. Uh, I'm not really like much of a genre person, like there'll always be good music and there'll be shit music in every genre. There'll always be people who are jumping on the bandwagon and trying to like ape something else, which is cool. But I like, people who are in touch with their music and very comfortable with what they do. Those are the sort of bands I like. Anything from Dire Straits. I was just doing a bad version of Sultans of Swing. Um, yeah, I'll play you a little bit of the. It's like I always love playing this. Did you know that song has Jeff Porcaro on drums, the drummer from Toto? And what a groove! That's probably one of my favorite songs where the drums just kick in at a certain point. And it's like another one like Stairway to Heaven where the drums kick in the latter half of the song. But when they kick in, the whole song just lifts up. If you haven't heard that song, it's called On Every Street. Some tips on writing catchy melodies. Try writing stuff that you can hum. So don't write it on an instrument. Hum out a melody that you think is catchy, and then learn to play it on either the piano or the guitar or something like that. How is the music scene in New Zealand compared to India, especially indie? It's a lot more DIY. Like if you go to a gig, you kind of need to lug your own backline and lights and sound desk and all for a lot of the gigs. Some of them will have a PA and lights and everything, but not all of them. Whereas in India, it's much more common to just come to the gig with your guitar and pedals and expect everything to be set up. So yeah, you have to really want to do it here. There's no cushy life, and some of the gigs they pay next to nothing. So the good thing is that the people are very enthusiastic about music, and like a lot of the kids in school are playing music to a very high level compared to back in India where music education is not really a thing. You're like every school will teach music to at least most of the kids who want to you know so in that sense it's way better. But there's also things to miss in from India, especially like the gigs where you can say, okay, let's get me 2 Fender Twin Reverbs and 2 Marshall cabs, and they're there. Have I listened to Bloody Wood? Yeah, they opened. Sorry, they played after us at 2 festivals. One at Independence Rock where they played, I think, after Zero or before. Yeah, I think it was before. And this most recent one where Black Star Blues played along with the Aristocrats, so they played after us. And they're very energetic band, and they really get the crowd on their side. So it's quite a spectacle, you know. Whereas like you're just like fucking four ugly guys standing on stage and playing music with their eyes closed. So in that sense, it's a lot more of a direct punch on your senses. So, but yeah, man, I'm really proud that a band from India is like playing these festivals overseas in Europe and stuff like that. Do I know about Fossils? Yeah, the guitar player Alan is an old friend. He used to play in a band called Wise that I first heard of on that Great Indian Rock compilation. I'd seen them once. I think it was a Vishal Shekhar or Amit Trivedi gig where they were also playing on the same bill, and I checked out some of this stuff. Really nice. I love the fact that they get the crowd knows like all the songs and they sing along in Bangla. Play some Jeff Beck solo. Sorry, bro, you missed it. I just did Cause You Ended as Lovers. How do I like Guthrie? He's an amazing guitar player, in terms of like there's very little that he can't do. So there's a lot to admire and very little to, not like about his playing. But definitely one of the best modern guitar players. The fact that he's playing with Hans Zimmer as well, he's got a lot of different avenues to explore different aspects of his playing, So definitely an amazing guitar player. Picks of varying thicknesses. Do we have to choose picks depending on players' comfort, or do they have an effect on the sound? They're actually one of the biggest influences on how the guitar feels. Like if I was doing like a strumming thing, like I would kind of want a nice floppy nylon pick. And say if I was playing some more heavy stuff, something like this Hetfield pick. Do I like Sutej Singh? He's a very sweet guy. He came over once to my place. We hung out for a bit. Very cool guy. Big fan. Love Blues for Gary. Saw you at the Blue Frog maybe 10 years ago. Fuck that. It was probably a long time ago then. How to pick up girls with a guitar? They'll pick you up, bro. You don't have to pick them up. Just play your guitar and don't worry about all that sort of stuff. If they like you, they'll pick you up. Otherwise, just carry on practicing till that happens. Seeing Tajdar featuring with you and Parvaz, would love to see a collaboration between all three of us. Fuck, that would be like a what do you call the tour manager's nightmare, getting all three in the same city. But I'm glad you like all three of us. There's definitely some amazing amazing music that both Tajdar and Parvaz have produced. So yeah, that'll be awesome if it does happen. I will keep my fingers crossed that that day comes along. Do I like Mark Knopfler? Do I ever play fingerstyle like him? No, I can't play fingerstyle like him. The fingerstyle I do is, something more like the Beatles. That kind of a picking pattern. Something like that. But I do a little bit of the, you can't resist. Though most of my fingerstyle lead playing would probably come from Jeff Beck, but there's definitely something like that I probably took from Knopfler. I like Knopfler's songwriting. I'm always a student of like the songwriting and the arrangement on all the Dire Straits stuff. But he does have a very unique style, so I don't really see too much of an opportunity to copy him. Though I'll tell you, it's damn funny. I once had to do a Mark Knopfler, like a dead on Mark Knopfler thing, on this song called Tez Dhar, which was sung by a Bollywood actor called Sanjay Dutt, which most of you would know. The song is called Tez Dhar. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it's basically Sanjay Dutt doing a gangster thing on Six Blade Knife, the Dire Straits song. So if you Google Sanjay Dutt Tez Dhar, you'll find my best Mark Knopfler imitation when I was like 19 or something. I was really young. I was called to, hey, can you play this? I was like, yeah, I will try. Do I play Metallica? Yes, I play Metallica. I'll play you. Um, Let me sing. That. Do I like Pineapple Express? I've heard a little bit of this stuff. Really cool. Which is my favorite metal band. I don't know. I'm gonna be populist and say Iron Maiden, just because of the time I grew up in. I was like a big Maiden fan. Thanks for the thoughtful answer. I'm glad you thought it was thoughtful. Most of the time I'm just rapping bullshit. But yeah, never mind me. I'll play you some stuff. Let me see. I'll play you a little bit of this Beck song. Like that. um, in a band, is there always competition between two guitarists? Well, it depends if the two guitar players are mature or immature. If you get like two small kids, then yeah, there will be some fighting. And if they are like mature enough to, have that give and take between each other, then there is no competition. New music that I'm currently listening to, I was going back and listening to all the old David Lindley stuff. He's a slide guitar player that used to play with a guy called Jackson Brown. All his solo stuff. There's one album called El Rio X. It's like You just look for David Lindley on your streaming thing, you'll find that. But that's not new music. New music, what am I listening to? What the newest War on Drugs album was nice. I keep going back to a lot of old classic stuff. Let me see what's on my Apple Music. There's a lot of stuff my daughter also downloads to listen to. What's all there? Robin Trower, J Dilla Donuts, Europe, Out of This World. See, it's all varied stuff. A lot of Eagles, Boz Skaggs. My wife listens to all that stuff as well. Allman Brothers, The Birds, Brett Gossard, all the old Sean Lane stuff. I went on a Sean Lane kick recently. David Lindley, like I was saying. It keeps on the, there's a lot of music I listen to on YouTube as well, like Scary Pockets and all that stuff. That stuff's nice. Fade to Black. I'll tell you something very funny. Where is it? Come on now. It has to be here somewhere. Sorry. Yeah, check this out. This used to be a joke. I used to troll people by doing that just for fun. Well, thank you for your top chat. I didn't even know there was this top chat thing, but yeah, right back at you. Any thoughts on doing a series course on playing melodic solos? Yeah, I'll have a few ideas. It's basically breaking out of the box. Martin says, have you ever tried to get that crying Holdsworth bar wobble? Wow, yeah, he just does that. I think it'll happen better on a 2-point trem rather than the 6-point because it's only supported on 2. That sort of thing, right? I think Beck does that a lot as well. I've heard him do it a few times. I didn't even know Holdsworth did it, but yeah, that's what you mention it. Can you give some advice to practice to hold the pick with fingers and switching to fingers? I do this, like my middle finger, like you always used to doing that to people. So, you kind of just hold the pick in that while you play, And then when the pick comes out, so just practice doing that, So when I'll do it in slow motion. So see the thumb goes to the pick when you've got it cupped behind the middle finger like that, and then there, and then when it pulls it behind, and then that middle finger takes over. So just practice doing that. That'll kind of, I kind of do it so subconsciously I don't even realize I'm doing it. Any chances on seeing me live? It depends where you are. If you are in India, then you just missed out this year because we were there all of Feb and March playing gigs in Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. So you'll probably visit India sometime next year. Hey Warren, any tips to get that thick liquid tone you get from your guitar? I would say never run your volume and tone on full. My volume is always like around, even when I'm soloing with high gain, it's around like 9 or something. My tone knob is rolled back. On the bridge pickup especially, I like to roll it back at least halfway. But what I do is I just put it off and then just do that. So when it goes ooh and it just opens up, I leave it there. I don't go any more than that. So it's around 4. That'll thicken up any tone. And everything else is down to how you pick. So if you pick, there are people that pick in a way that just brings out all the treble, and I'm generally not one of them. And if I had the tone knob on full, you kind of hear more of that nasal attack in it, like that sound. There'll be times I'll open up that tone knob, like if I'm on a clean sound, or this slightly broken up thing on there. From the thing you can see which channel I'm on. So right now I'm on the OS, which is the Dumble module channel 2. So that's with the tone like say around 7 or so. And then if normally back it up for solo. Now back on the Soldano Red. That sort of thing. That's probably the biggest tip. Everything else is down to your hands. Martin says it's not a bar flutter, it's more like a microtonal bump. Or do you mean like the that sort of thing? I don't know. Or just send me a video or something and say this is where you can hear it, and we can discuss that offline. Classic Vibe says finally after a long time. I don't know what that means, but maybe the YouTube live. Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last one I did was in Jan. So sorry about the break, but I've been away and busy. Now I finally have a bit more time to do this YouTube live thing, which hopefully should be every weekend if I can manage it. Heard you first at the Shillong Weekend in 2018 at Zero. Do you guys ever think of writing new music? You should probably watch this interview we did on YouTube with this podcast called Made in India, MAED. And they asked us about that. And we all said it's because Rajiv lives in London, I live in Auckland, and Bobby and Sid live in India. It's kind of hard for us to write music long distance. It's not impossible, but it's not something actually, that excites us. But if we were ever all in the same room for an extended period of time, I'm sure we would write some cool stuff. My thoughts on a Bad Monkey. I think the whole thing is a fucking disgrace in terms of how idiotic guitar players can be, because those pedals used to be like, looked down upon, like, oh shit, he's playing a Bad Monkey. I remember Gary Moore using one, and people were like, oh shit, how is Gary Moore using a Bad Monkey? He must have like lost it or something like that. And now they are collectibles. So it just goes to show that I think generally this whole problem is that people place too much emphasis on secondhand information, especially in this information age, internet age. Everyone wants some hack or some tip or some trick which someone else has done, and most of the time the advice given is secondhand as well. So you're getting like some third hand information. So my suggestion is use whatever you want. Just make sure you spend time with it and learn how to use it. And even if it's like I have that Ibanez TS Mini on my board, and it's one of the cheaper ones, but it does sound damn good. So maybe if you can't afford a Bad Monkey, pick up a TS Mini and make some music with that. Sagnik just wanted to say, long time no see, good to see you again. Well, thank you. Thanks for dropping by. Kaustav says, any chance from learning guitar from me? Any courses available? Not at the moment, but I do one-on-one lessons on Zoom. If you are interested, email blackstartblues@gmail. The fee is 80 New Zealand dollars for an hour, or 50 for half an hour. So if that interests you, sure. Otherwise, I think maybe next month I should be doing a workshop or two. So keep your, if you're on Instagram, it's at blackstartblues. So just keep an eye on my stories, and I will publish something as and when something is ready. I was thinking also of making some pre-recorded courses and making those available, on some platform or the other. So Martin has to leave, and I think I should also be leaving sometime very soon. Thank you, Martin, for dropping in, and we'll catch up. Martin is one of my gear buddies. We keep sharing information on gear. He's a very good guitar player in his own right. If you haven't heard him play, I think he's got some stuff on his YouTube channel, so do check him out. See you, Martin. And to everyone else, I think thank you for dropping in, and I'll play you out with some Black Star Blues stuff. Anyone got any requests apart from Anova Sky and Ode to a Sunny Day and North Star and Bombay Rain, which I've already played? Let me see. I'm trying to think. Lead Chain Swing, why not? That's a good idea. I think I have it here. And let's see, what do we need for Lead Chain Swing? We need that Stevie Ray kind of cool, and then it gets cool. So you can see the rack. I'm going to be using the OS, which is the Dumble, for the slightly crunchy bits, and for the heavier bits there'll be Soldano 1 and Soldano 2. Chalo. Here is Lead Chain Swing. Thank you for listening, and see you guys soon. 1. What a nice bass line. I love the song starts and I don't have to play right away. Now it comes in. Well, thank you for listening. That is going to be Tata and goodbye from me in Auckland. It is now 10:41 p.m. and I will have to say Alvida, good night, not Sat Sri Akal. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat, and I will try and answer them when I can. Could we hear Black Hole 3 next time? We opened all our gigs with Black Hole. That's about it for me. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon. Hopefully now I can resume doing this once a week. So I will post on Instagram if at all I am doing that. Okay, chalo. Thank you guys. Bye bye.